It's The Log. I'm Charles Purcell. I had a nice little flashback this morning. Somebody posted this. What phrase or expression do you remember your parents saying when you were a child that has really stuck with you? And I actually had to think about it for just a second, but my mother used to say, I'll bet you dollars to donuts, meaning she was very sure of something. Yes, that's definitely going to happen. And I guess when she was a kid, donuts probably cost like 10 cents. So betting dollars to donuts would be giving the other person really good odds, right? So I thought that was kind of a funny expression, and that made me smile this morning. Yeah, the next time you're really sure about something, like I'm absolutely sure that the Orange Menace will not go to Joe's inauguration. And if you think he's going to show up at that inauguration, I would bet you dollars to donuts that ain't going to happen. Of course, then I got to thinking about it. I thought, well, what do donuts cost these days? This expression no longer applies because donuts cost more than $1. Well, I looked it up, and according to Dunkin' Donuts and according to Krispy Kreme and whoever else you can find, the basic donut still goes for 99 cents. So you're still giving the other guy odds. You're betting $1 to his 99. Yeah, it's 99 cents for a donut these days. I looked it up. Isn't that a good expression, though? Dollars to donuts. Even though it's no longer financially accurate, it's a great expression. Well, let's see here. I'll bet you dollars to donuts that the lame duck presidency and Congress are both finding new ways to screw up. Now, this makes me think now. I've used two expressions already that I don't know the origins of. Okay, should we get on the Google machine and see who first said that? Dollars to donuts, meaning and origin. Phrases.org says that dollars to donuts is a pseudo-betting term. Pseudo in that it didn't originate with actual betting involving donuts, but just a pleasant-sounding alliterative phrase which indicated short odds. Dollars are valuable, but donuts aren't. The phrase parallels the earlier English betting expression, a pound to a penny. The phrase appears to have originated in mid-19th century USA. The earliest citation found for it is in the newspaper the Daily Nevada State Journal, February 1876. Whenever you hear any resident of a community attempting to decry the local paper, it's dollars to donuts that such a person is either mad at the editor or is owing the office for subscription or advertising. It doesn't crop up again in print until some years later, apart from a similar citation in a March edition of the Nevada State Journal, which suggests that the unnamed author of those pieces either coined the phrase himself or appropriated some street slang that he had heard. All right, that's the best that phrases.com can come up with. All right, well, while we're on this site here, let's see if it gives me a search window. No, it just gives me a list of terms and phrases. And let's see if they have lame duck. Looking at the L's here. No, they don't have lame duck. All right, origin of lame duck. Lame duck meaning and... Oh yeah, kick me back to the same site. It is here. Phrases.org, the phrase finder. The description of lame duck is often applied to politicians. Yes, we know that. Historians, okay, I'm looking for the origin. Okay, here we are. The actual origin of the term has nothing to do with politics, though, and is quite specific in meaning. It comes from the London stock market and referred to investors who were unable to pay their debts. Huh. In Horace Walpole's Letters to Sir Horace Mann, 1761, quote, "Do you know what a bull and a bear and a lame duck are?" Okay, so it's picked up several times in English writing. So the term itself, lame duck, becomes known, and people start using it. Looks like 1863 is the first time they found it in political terms. The Congressional Globe used lame duck to describe broken-down politicians. And then here in the U.S., when the inauguration was in March, we had this long break between the November election and the March inauguration. A lot of politicians were tempted to engage in shenanigans. So the phrase lame duck enters in. The 20th Amendment, which brought the inauguration to January, was actually referred to as the lame duck amendment. All right. So, yeah, there we are. So I guess that's how lame duck became the term for this period between election and swearing in. All right, so we all good on that? Well, there's plenty of lame duck activity going on. Of course, the Orange Menace is trying to do as much damage as he possibly can in his lame duck status. Of course, we talked yesterday about the possible airstrikes against Iran, which were thankfully shot down by his top advisors. And that, of course, was preceded by a mass firing at the Pentagon and hiring Fox News lackeys. Now, out of pure spite, he's fired Christopher Krebs. You know that name? Christopher Krebs was the director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA. Led the federal government's election cybersecurity efforts, and by all indication did a damn fine job. They've been warning us ever since 2016 about the dangers afoot in securing this election, and it looks like they did a pretty great job. But then this Krebs fella made the mistake of saying so. Yeah, he was one of the several in a joint statement who said, quote, "There is no evidence that any voting system deleted or lost votes, changed votes, or was in any way compromised." Yeah, the people in charge of this thing said that this was a great election. No troubles. They're rightfully proud of their work. Thanks. Well, of course, that goes against the Orange Menace and his narrative that it was all rigged. So he actually fires the guy. Lord, I hope somebody's been keeping track, a running daily tally of every ridiculous executive order, people hired, people fired, because we got to put things right. It's like Joe Biden has been hired as the new manager of the China shop that's just been totally destroyed by a bull. So finally they get the bull out of there. It's like, okay, Joe, you got to clean this up now. Lord mercy. Also in the lame duck session, can we pass some laws, please, that take power away from lame duck Congresses and presidents? Yeah, they still have to be there. We got to keep the lights on. We got to keep basic security of the nation, things like that. But hiring and firing of people, all of their regular responsibilities and authorities, all of their kind of regular power, anything like that all needs to go away. That seems like pretty simple legislation. Lame duck Congress, lame duck president, you can keep the lights on. You're there in case an emergency happens. But other than that, you do nothing. You just hold your seat for the new guy. All right, headline. Controversial Fed nominee set to prevail in Senate confirmation vote this week. What? NPR reporting. After languishing for more than a year, Judy Shelton's controversial nomination to the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors appears poised for Senate confirmation in what is likely to be a narrow vote. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell moved to hold a vote sometime this week after Senator Lisa Murkowski, oh man, we can always count on her, Republican of Alaska, signaled her support for the nominee. Of course. How perfect is that? Oh, Lisa Murkowski. She holds out and she holds out for whatever reason. I don't know. She likes the attention and then eventually always gives in to Mitch and the Repugs. Shelton has attracted great scrutiny over views that place her well outside the economic mainstream. Shelton, who was an advisor to the Orange Menace 2016 campaign, is expected to be confirmed on a slim majority, prevailing over the opposition of Senate Democrats and 3 Republican critics. So, I don't know. Her story, I don't care. She's probably another Fox commentator. Oh, speaking of the Pentagon, we mentioned this the other day. Yeah, the Orange Menace has pulled the trigger on Afghanistan and Iraq, bringing troops home. It's got... Now, we've already talked about our mixed feelings as lefties and peaceniks. We want troops home, too. But everybody, and I mean everybody in this country, is claiming this is a terrible move, and it's terribly dangerous. It can't be done logistically. It shouldn't be done for security reasons. It's being done hastily and only to gratify his own political ends. It's the only thing that has actually gotten Republicans speaking up against him. He can do anything in the world. He could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue. Republicans wouldn't care. Oh, but don't touch the military. Don't touch our troops. Everybody's in lockstep. Everybody's in lockstep in Washington when it comes to maintaining imperial forces around the world. Wow. All right. Well, speaking of people who aren't sworn in yet, Joe Biden. Yeah, I think it might be time to make this official. If you're a regular listener to this program, I've been saying for a long, long time, if I voted for Joe, it would be my very last vote for a Democrat. And if Joe wins, we are the loyal opposition on day one. Well, as far as I'm concerned, a week ago Saturday was day one. That's when the race was called. I am officially the loyal opposition to Joe Biden. I'm glad he won, but let's make no mistake here. Joe Biden is now my opposition. His first climate appointment is a fossil fuel industry ally. David Sirota's The Daily Poster. Following a campaign promising bold climate action, President-elect Joe Biden's transition team named one of the Democratic Party's top recipients of fossil fuel industry money to a high-profile White House position focusing in part on climate issues. U.S. Representative Cedric Richmond, Democrat from Louisiana, has received hundreds of thousands of dollars from the oil and gas industry over the years. During his 10 years in Congress, Richmond has received roughly $341,000 from donors in the oil and gas industry, the 5th highest total among House Democrats, according to previous reporting by Sludge. Richmond has raked in that money while representing a congressional district that is home to 7 of the 10 most air-polluted census tracts in the country. Richmond has repeatedly broken with his party on major climate and environmental votes. During the climate crisis that has battered his home state of Louisiana, Richmond has joined with Republicans to vote to increase fossil fuel exports and promote pipeline development. He also voted against Democratic legislation to place pollution limits on fracking, and he voted for GOP legislation to limit the Obama administration's authority to more stringently regulate the practice. Overall, Richmond has received a lifetime rating of 76% from the League of Conservation Voters, and he scored 46% in 2018, one of the lowest ratings of any Democrat in Congress. And this is the first appointment from Joe Biden in this area. And his job, according to Politico, who's reporting this guy is expected to serve as a liaison with the business community and climate change activists. Yeah, this is where we are. This is where we are. I do not trust Joe Biden as far as I can throw him. Some other Joe news that further puts me out of his corner. According to NBC, Joe Biden has privately told advisors that he doesn't want his presidency to be consumed by investigations of his predecessor. According to 5 people familiar with the discussions, despite pressure from some Democrats who want inquiries into President Donald Trump and members of his administration. So Biden doesn't want to go after the Orange Menace. This was so predictable. He has said what he said in the past, that he won't stop his Justice Department. He will allow his Justice Department to operate freely if they find it necessary to pursue the Orange Menace. Now, it's obvious to anyone with eyes and ears that the Orange Menace has broken multiple federal laws, and for the Justice Department to just ignore that, I don't see how you can. And of course, as people are quick to point out, there are charges that the Orange Menace will face at the state level that Joe Biden or his Justice Department can do nothing about. It has nothing to do with them. Completely independent. So the hush money to Stormy Daniels, various tax issues, undervaluing assets, all of that, that's still in the courts, and that will be pursued. That's for sure. So that's good. That's the good news. But I've got to take issue with Joe's concerns about dividing the nation. We've been talking, you and I, ad nauseum about how the deplorables are not welcome in any reasonable version of the political spectrum. We don't want to appease the deplorables. We don't want to make nice with them. They don't belong. So when Joe says we don't want to divide the nation, I agree we want cooperation, but within that reasonable scope of reasonable people. I don't really mind offending neo-Nazis and white supremacists. I'm not going to bend over backwards to make nice with them. And the Orange Menace just simply needs to go down. And his fan club needs to see him, watch him go down. They need to see him in an orange jumpsuit with a prison haircut. We need truth and reconciliation here. Ralph Nader takes it a step further, and I would agree that Biden should not only be passive and allow his Justice Department to pursue cases if they so choose. No, Biden should, according to Ralph Nader, establish a special prosecutors task force to bring criminal violators Trump and his cronies to justice. If not, the crime wave will roll back on the Democrats in 2022 and 2024. You don't have an option, Joe. It's either the rule of law or the Trumpsters come back. Ralph Nader. Yep, that's absolutely right. You can't forgive crimes against the nation in the name of national unity. You just can't do it. Let me point you to a really good essay. New York Times Magazine, Jonathan Mahler. Donald Trump's potential criminal liability is the key to understanding his presidency, and when he leaves office will present the country with an historic dilemma. And it's quite lengthy and it's quite good, and I'm going to just let you take it from there. I will share the link on the Facebook page, and if you just want to look it up yourself, again, it's Jonathan Mahler, New York Times Magazine, November 17. Yeah, he's just, in his run-up to the presidency, in the 4 years, as laid out clearly by the Mueller report, crime after crime after crime. And in the year since the Mueller report, more of them. His lawyers keep saying, well, he's the president. He can do what he wants. You can't prosecute him. Well, he's not going to be president after January 20th. There are financial crimes. There are political crimes, election law violations, obstruction of justice, public corruption, coercion. And there's this false dichotomy that people want to create, that either the nation heals or we seek justice. That's not an either-or choice. The nation only heals if we seek justice. This has nothing to do with revenge. I promise you. In many ways, I honestly feel sorry for the guy. He's the sickest SOB I think I've ever seen in my life. Anywhere. Not just in the presidency, not just in politics, not just in the celebrity world. I mean anywhere, everywhere. Anyone I've ever encountered, I've never witnessed anybody so screwed up. So in a way, I actually feel sorry for the guy. So this has nothing to do with retribution. It has nothing to do with getting revenge on the guy. No, he has to be prosecuted in order to heal the nation, in order to move forward, because Ralph Nader is right. If we allow this kind of behavior from this weird, twisted man, and not only that, allow all of his enablers in the Republican Party and in his deplorable base, if we allow all of them to get away with their behavior as well, and talk about his enablers. He's not alone in this. Lindsey Graham. You heard this one, right? We got to get the prosecutors on this guy, too. Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger tells us that Graham suggested tossing out thousands of votes, pressing him on this no-match signature technicality, and suggesting that thousands of ballots be thrown out. Of course, Graham denies it. Of course he's going to deny it. Who do you believe? Who do you believe? Honestly, come on. A dedicated civil servant or Lady G? Come on. We're giving them fuel. We're giving them sustenance. We're giving them license to continue in their abhorrent behavior and to roll on through the next Congress that will be seated in January, and then to the midterms, and then to the next presidential election. We allow that momentum to continue. That giant, deplorable boulder rolling down the cliff, gathering strength, gathering steam every inch of the way. No, we have to put a stop to this. We have to put the full force of the federal government, the full weight of American justice, in uncovering every bit of wrongdoing and prosecuting every last crime. That's what will heal the nation, Joe. That's what will heal. That's the only thing that will heal the nation. If the deplorables want to cry foul, let them. They are an existential threat to this nation. And when the Orange Menace is on a helicopter and Joe raises his right hand, that's not over. Not by a long shot. Decent, reasonable people have to win in the court of opinion. Decent, reasonable lawmakers have to win at the ballot box. And that process continues and is going to be damn near impossible if we don't squash what will forever now be known as Trumpism. A term I was hoping to avoid, a term I was hoping would find no traction. But there it is. There's no denying it. It exists. And we're faced with a challenge right now. In years to come, when historians write about this particular ism, along with McCarthyism and neo-Nazism, will they write that it was short-lived? That it gained strength with the election of the Orange Menace? And it peaked at the election of 2020, when thousands of people filled the streets, demanding that an election be overturned based on lies, but then quickly fell away. That's what I want the historians to write. That was the end. That was the beginning of the end. Because lawmakers saw their duty, saw their responsibility, and they spoke out against it. And mostly because prosecutors, federal prosecutors, state prosecutors, put people in jail. Or will historians write that in an effort to heal the nation, President Joe Biden discouraged the prosecution of the Trumpists, allowing the movement to grow and flourish? And who knows where that ends? Yeah, you want to heal the nation? You want to heal the nation? Encourage your Justice Department to go strong and hard on the Orange Menace. So again, I will post this New York Times Magazine essay to the Charles Purcell Facebook page. You should take a look at it. So, Joe, that's the way I feel about it. But Joe's not going to listen to me. I don't believe he will. I think he's going to get all namby-pamby about this. I don't think he sees what I see. I'll bet you dollars to donuts that he just stays with this soft, middle-of-the-road, non-committal position. And it's one of the several reasons that I declare myself in opposition to President-elect Joe Biden. I'm not falling in line. I'll dance in the streets when the Orange Menace flies away, but that's as far as it goes. We got to push Joe. We got to push him. We got to fight him. And we got to start right now recruiting and running candidates for the midterms. Progressives, Democratic Socialists, lefties. And we got to start right now. Right now. It's not too early. We got to start right now choosing a candidate for 2024. Because I am not voting for Joe Biden. I will not vote for Joe Biden in 2024. I'll tell you that right now. It's not going to happen. I'm done. This is the last time I vote for a Joe Biden. Nope. I had to do it this time. We had to do it this time. The Orange Menace had to be purged. Just had to be. But we haven't reversed our path of death and destruction that the Orange Menace was taking us down. No, we've only slowed it down. We've only slowed it down with Joe. We haven't reversed it. No. Without justice raining down on those who are taking us down that path, without reform, without bold action on energy and climate change, we're still heading toward that cliff. Absolutely we are. At a little bit slower pace, but that's the best I can say about Joe at this point. I don't trust him. No, we need to change course, not just slow it down and make it more palatable. We have to get off this road, and Joe is not the one to do it. So progressives, it's time right now to start thinking about 22 and 24, because we have to get off this road. All right, that's what's on my mind today. A quick reminder here at the end of the show, we are moving the studios. I'm in a temporary makeshift studio as we speak. Friday is our big moving day, so I want to encourage you to listen to the program on Friday. We're going to repeat the program from a week or two ago regarding the divided nation. I make the case that the United States is not divided, and we have to resist this brainwashing we're getting from every single pundit at every point in the spectrum. They're all saying the same thing. They're all saying how divided we are. I make the case that we are not. So while we make the move, we're going to repeat that show, and I encourage you to listen on Friday. If you're an on-air listener or if you're a subscriber to the podcast, we're going to repost it so it cues right at the top of your list. So be listening for that on Friday. That's day after tomorrow. And then on Monday, just to be safe, make sure we got everything plugged in properly at the new studio. We're going to run another recent program on de-Trumpification. And that's kind of a deep dive into whether or not we get along. Some of the things we talked about today regarding appeasing the deplorables. So Friday and Monday, I want to point you toward that. Undivided nation and de-Trumpification. Okay, there it is. That's the log for today. I am Charles Purcell. I love you. I'll talk to you tomorrow.